Hello everyone, this is Bobbin Threadbare, and welcome back to Sleeping Dogs. You can tell right away, I've raided some of the shops of the night market. Turns out you can buy a new bed in there, also a bird to keep you company. Luckily you don't have to feed it, so it's not going to die from negligence. Anyway, I managed to get enough clothing together. Oh, one other thing I wanted to show you. A real working mirror. It's amazing how rare those things are. But I wanted to say that my outfit right now gives me a 5% experience bonus to Triad, and the hat isn't part of the outfit, but I figured, if I was going to look like a douchebag, I might as well commit. Also, this car is new. I bought it. I got enough face to buy it.
Okay, I'll take it.
Good luck, Wei. The gods are watching.
It looks better when I get it fresh out of the garage, so don't worry about that. Anyway, did a bunch of police stuff, so now let's get back to the main missions. Oh, guess the triads can wait.
Excuse me, do you speak English?
I like to think so. Well, enough to get by anyways. You?
Yeah, Wait, what do you mean? Oh, yeah, I speak English.
I kinda guessed. What can I do for you?
I'm looking for this place, Old Temple Academy. I thought it was around here. It's supposed to be a kung fu school, but I'm totally lost. I have no sense of direction.
Yeah, I think I know where it is. I mean, it's not too far. I can give you a ride. I mean, it'll be easier than explaining where it is.
Okay, yeah, that'd be really great. My name's Amanda, by the way, or Amy. Either one is fine.
Oh, nice to meet you, Amy. I'm Wei.
That moment of hesitation where she decides whether he's trustworthy or not.
You have a car in here?
It's a nice subtle bit of timing. Also, apparently I don't get to take the car out for a ride.
So what brings you to Hong Kong? You thinking of becoming Chinese?
No, I just finished college, and I'm doing a bit of traveling. Figuring out what to do with my life, that sort of thing.
How's that going?
Well, I've only been traveling for a few weeks, so no real progress on the life front. But I'm checking out Hong Kong for a while. What about you? You got it all figured out?
I wouldn't say that. I got a few family issues I'm working on clearing up. Maybe once that's dealt with, I'll get on to figuring out life.
Oh, yeah? You got any pointers?
Well, the trick to Hong Kong is learning to live by ancient Chinese wisdom. Look both ways before crossing the street, always buckle your seatbelt, and only apply makeup at red lights. Don't text and drive, that kind of thing.
Words to live by.
Also, we drive on the left here. It's an important thing to remember.
So this is the Bam Bam Club.
Back home I saw a restaurant built.
Don't let the locals hear you say that.
I wonder if Club Bam Bam means something in Cantonese. Because in English, it's not a double entendre, it's just a single entendre. Don't think I didn't notice you, Health Shrine. I'll be back for you one day.
Wow. This is a pretty cool place for a kung fu school.
Fortunately, the school isn't in the temple. Not that temple, anyway.
Didn't they use this temple as a backdrop for, what was it, Fists of Carnage?
No, it was using the grandfathers of the Shaolin Fist.
There are so many Hong Kong movies, I don't know if those are real or not. But yeah, like most real kung fu schools, they've moved out of the temples now and into, just
Oh my god, I thought I was gonna die there.
padded rooms. Rooms with padded floors.
Isn't this school supposed to be in a temple?
They discovered that killing your students is bad for business,
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'd like to sign up for some kung fu classes. I read about your school in my guidebook.
Your guidebook.
Yeah. It said you teach a style with a long lineage, but in spite of all that, it's still considered very effective.
You want to take classes, okay. And you? Did you also read about this place in some book?
Well,
Wait. I know you.
Yes, Sifu Kwok. I used to be your student. I'm Wei Shen.
Yes. The one who went to America. So you brought this girl back with you. Your skill level with girls, very good. Now time to assess your skill level in Kung Fu.
Now, at this point, the tutorials are pretty much over-explaining. Yes, there are contextual attacks. And you don't even need to lock on to people to use them, you just need to be facing the right way.
I see time in America has rusted your skills.
Explaining how heavy attacks work. Now, they're a little bit different each time, depending on how deep into the combo they are.
All men must
Also, fun note, you can see Amy practicing some very simple attacks and moves in the back there. Very nice attention to detail. Different angles.
incompetence towers above your
Meanwhile, Wei Shen is just kicking everybody in the face.
Try to steer them in the right direction, especially the younger ones. But they all want to be Song Yi. Now I just train them in the ways of my art. Try to teach them compassion and discretion, and pray for the best.
Sifu, I don't think there's much more you can do. Oh, Jade Rat. The Song Dynasty, right?
Very good.
The Song Dynasty? That's like 1,000 years old or something. That's real?
Part of a set of 12. One for each animal of the Chinese calendar.
Sifu, you used to have the whole set. What happened to the others?
Stolen by a former student, corrupted by the triads.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Sifu.
So was I. This collection meant a lot to me. But sometimes you just have to let things go. I should close up. It was good to see you again, Wei. And your lovely fiancé.
What?
Keeps making more and more assumptions.
That was fun. What do you want to do now?
I need to get home, but I will definitely call you later.
Alright, and this is what the Jade statues are for. Bring them back, you gain another special move. I could just explain it right there. Alright, Wei Shen's CV right here.
I found one of your statues.
Oh, a dog. Excellent. I must confess, I was surprised to see you back. I had hoped that you might have escaped Hong Kong. Escaped its influences, its problems.
We took them with us when we left. So coming back didn't change much.
Are you ready to confront them now?
Yes, I think so.
That's a lot of Jade, by the way.
What would you like to learn?
Alright, so basically the two trees for melee training are strikes and grapples.
I'm ashamed to call myself your teacher.
Damn it. Alright, yeah, like it says, you gotta hold down A. You don't actually need to get a running head start. Just hold down A and press B and you will get the running tackle. Now I'm starting out with a couple of the grapples here, grapple moves, because they're fairly good. But after that I'm going to be moving more into the strikes. Right, and after you practice the move, it's just some freeform combat, so you can get used to doing it in the sort of fights that you'll be doing throughout the rest of the game. And as you're seeing here, you don't even need to use the move you just learned
Stop by again if you find one of my statues.
during the follow-up fight. Just, you know, if you think it's useful, use it. Alright, but that's not the only Jade statue I got. I just needed a second to load in there.
I found one of your statues.
The sheep. This is good. I promised myself I wouldn't train members of the Triads anymore. Not good for one's karma.
What makes you think I'm in the Triads?
Don't lie to me. If there are things you can't reveal, don't. But never lie.
How do we talk about the things I can't reveal?
You don't need to. I knew you well once. I don't believe people change that much.
Right. Appreciate your faith.
What would you like to learn?
Second level grapple. The leg break. Oh, this one's fun. Grapple strike, then grapple heavy strike. That's not how to do it. That's how to do it. Apparently I didn't press the buttons in the right order for the game to keep track of what I was doing.
Your ancestors called. They like to disown you.
Now, of course, this isn't a real leg break.
Strong like bear.
You can tell that it was motion captured because, well, it's an obvious fake. He's not actually breaking the leg, he's stepping on the inside of the knee. And, you know, if you do that at full speed, it will freaking hurt, of course.
Never winning.
But it also won't break the bones.
Winning isn't everything. Please stop by again if you find one of my statues.
But I suppose it follows with the fact that it's not a fight-ending move.
All right. I thought Seafood Quark was a great teacher.
He is, but he keeps asking me to fight his other students.
Alright, and so this is what you can do when you don't have a Jade statue. You can practice on the 4 different kinds of thugs. Strikers, grapplers, thugs with weapons, and the regular guys. Yeah, the strikers are the regular guys. The brawlers are the ones that focus on strikes. Whereas the strikers focus on defense, except not even that much, really. They're just the normal goons. Anyway, if you want some real practice, there's a fight club just around the corner.
Want to fight? You look like you might survive a couple rounds.
Oh,
Come on, tough guy. You got nothing to lose but your teeth.
I think you'll find I'll survive more than a couple rounds. Now this is the easiest fight club. There's one for each major neighborhood, all 4 of them. And the one in North Point, since that's where you start, is obviously the easiest one. Like, I think the one in Kennedy Town has you start against like 3 guys.
Right. You keep winning, I keep paying.
Alright, that's the brawler. Now, obviously, you can use strikes against the brawler. It's just harder to do when he's looking at you. Also, something you should note about the Fight Club here is that it's all about your skill. No environmentals anywhere.
Whoa!
You can throw people into walls, and you can toss them over the rail there, or knock them against the rail. But, you know, as far as ending an opponent early without knowing the fighting system, that's not an option. You have to know what you're doing in order to win these rounds. Come on, son of a bitch. And actually, you do get more room to work with than you might think you do. Because your back is not against the wall when you start out. Everyone's in the center of the area. And so you can actually back up into that area where the people are standing on the dumpsters. I mean, you can't use the dumpsters for environmental kills. But you can certainly, like, you know, run people into them. I think he was attempting a grapple there, that's why he didn't flash red. Something like that. I think that knocked him out. Now here's something I'm going to be looking forward to getting, is the stun strike follow-up. They're stunned when they've got the little, damn it, the little white circle above their head. You can hit them really hard once you get that ability. Round 5 out of 6. Not out of the woods yet. Things are getting a lot harder now. But you know what? This is my first time on this fight club. I got some practice in before I started playing this game. But I'm honestly surprised how well I've been doing with this, just picking it up and playing it again. Yeah, sometimes two guys will try and go at you at the same time. Unlike in Batman, where you get a special two-person counter move. In this case, it's just, you know, you lock into one of them and you've got invincibility frames. And that's nice enough, you know, better than the alternative of not having invincibility frames. By the way, I believe I mentioned earlier, but the full 4 light, 1 heavy attack, that can knock someone over that rail, even if they aren't low on health. I didn't find that out until the 2nd or 3rd fight club that I did. Because, yeah, after I do this is the 6th round, by the way, we're almost done. After I do this, I go around to the rest of Hong Kong, and I do all of the rest of the fight clubs. One after another, and that is obviously not who I was trying to grapple. That is a grappler. I would have been an idiot to try and do that. Damn it. Stop it with the tackles. Only Wei Shen gets to do tackles. Alright, but you may have noticed just now, I believe it was because he was in... No, it couldn't have been in that. I don't have that ability yet. I believe that when you get someone into the stunned state, you are allowed to grapple them even if they are a grappler. So I grappled that one dude for like a second. But yeah, when your face meter is running down, you are just allowed to grapple anybody. And your strikes are unblockable and all of that lovely stuff. But to do that, you need to unlock a few abilities, and I don't have those all just yet. I got a few, not all of them. That's the last one.
All right. We have a winner.
Seriously, that's the best you can do.
No fight club in the world works like that, by the way. Oh, come on. Almost level 4. But yeah, no fight club in the world works like that because obviously no one person can take on an increasingly unfair number of people like that. Only in the movies. And the video games, obviously. Video games more so, in most cases. Or at least more frequently. Oh, come on. Alright. Oh, I saw you. I saw you.
Wait, you okay, man? You look like someone took a shit on your face.
Jackie, I'm just a little frustrated, stuck being Winston's errand boy. You know, I was making serious bank back in the States.
Come on, we're just paying our dues. Winston's a loyal guy. He'll hook us up when the time's right.
You can't always wait for the world to hand you what you want. Sometimes you gotta just take it.
Totally, man.
Look, it's time to take a little initiative. We gotta prove ourselves to Winston and the Sun On Yee, or we'll never move up. Is there anything going down in the next few days?
Shit, yeah, there is. Dog Eyes has a big shipment of stolen goods coming in.
Well, it's good for Dog Eyes, but that might be too much too fast. Last thing I need right now is taking a sticky red pole up my ass.
It's not like that. It's a small deal. Word is there's only a few low-level Londoners looking after it. If we boost that shit and give Winston a nice fat cut, he's gonna be mad impressed. No way he doesn't promote us after that.
You'd have to be certain it couldn't be traced back to Winston. Or us.
Sure, of course. They're never gonna know it was us. Unless we get caught.
Well, we won't unless you fuck it up. Come on, get in.
Time to move up in the world.
Well, that's entrapment. Yeah, I told you I saw you. Get in your ass. But luckily this is to get higher up into the triad and, you know, not to lock him up. Because it wouldn't work.
Where'd you get the van?
My uncle's a chop shop around the corner. Call it a pre-stolen ride. I'm thinking I'm gonna get a steady girlfriend.
Oh, yeah?
What do you think it's you, May?
You're not worried that she doesn't want to talk to you?
Hell no. If I let that stop me, I'd never ask anybody out. What about you? You ever think of finding somebody?
A relationship. Wouldn't really work with my life right now.
Sure it could. Look at me.
You're one of a kind, Jackie.
Ah, damn it.
Whoa.
But yeah, that little line right there is the explanation for why Wei Shen is going to have a string of girlfriends and not one steady squeeze.
Put on his mask. Can't let Dog Eyes boys know it was us. There should only be a few guards.
Keep the engine running.
Wait.
Come and get me!
You know, now that I'm thinking about it, does Hong Kong law have the entrapment issue? That's basically where if an undercover police officer encourages a someone to do something illegal, or else doesn't, you know, offer them a way out by just saying, you know, we could just walk away. Just saying that much before the thing goes down. If they don't do that, it's entrapment.
There's more of them.
Because then the defendant can just say that the cops were basically, aha, we caught you doing this thing we made you do. How clever of us. That's why it doesn't work in America, but, yeah, honestly, I don't know if that's the same thing in Hong Kong. American and British common law kind of diverged before entrapment became a thing. Man, that crowbar did not last long. These guys have some really tough heads. Oh, come on. I'm trying to run you up against the wall here. Oh, hello there.
Wait, you are hardcore. You like it was nothing. Watch, you should be in the warehouse, man.
I guess he wasn't quite done yet.
Shit, we're taking off for good. Go, 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 man.
They aren't in the warehouse anymore. Van on van action. Haha, yeah. Luckily, all of this debris doesn't count against your police score. It's only once you get onto the nice streets, yeah, like that. Yeah, cops don't care if you just trash the trash. For some reason, there's like a dozen escort cars for this one van full of low-level stuff. Man, these guys are not going down. Man, a third escort car, jeez. Oh, and I missed. Wait, there are two more? Oh wait, no, one of them is the van and I just passed it. Yeah, pro tip. When you're on a driving mission, don't expect to get 3 shields. Just hope you can get 2, and be content if you get 1. Anyway, I guess the escorts are down, too far away, or something. And damn!
Hang on, I'll go get the watches.
Compared to the escorts, that took no time at all.
Wait, we got him. Damn, that was crazy, man. We did it! Holy shit, we did it! Check it out, great Cambria.
That was our big boost? A shipment of cheap watches?
What? What do you mean cheap?
Jackie, these are fake as fuck.
Holy shit, Tylo, the cops drive. Wait, drive.
Alright. Triads weren't enough, so now we've got a cop on our ass. Fortunately, you are also allowed to total cop cars, as it would get pretty awkward if you couldn't. They don't automatically explode, by the way. That's for cars in general. Like, you can knock one out to the point where it can't move anymore and the engine's on fire, but it does not then automatically explode. So, you gonna come after me, guys, or... Oh, one of them got out, so he could fire at me, probably. But yeah, I'm turning around here because the highway goes away from North Point, and that's not where I want to go.
I think that's it.
Yeah, they're gone. Clear, man. No wonder there's so many criminals in this town. These cops suck.
And hey, we're right near our destination.
I don't know. He's an asshole, guy, but he has friends in high places.
He's a piece of shit. Don't be afraid of him.
Man, wait, you just got back. Get to know who's who before you start talking about bosses that way.
Listen, comes a time you gotta stand up to guys like that no matter who's backing you. What caused the bad blood?
Don't know. They used to be tight, though. Hard to believe dog eyes would turn on a friend like that.
He always was a shit, even when we were kids.
Is that all? Alright then.
So where's this guy we're meeting?
Don't worry. I'll take it from here.
You sure you don't want me to stick around?
Oh, man, I got it under control. Sonora.
All right, your deal.
Hey, wait! You did good out there. Here. Take this watch. You earned it.
Great, I finally hit the big time.
Fake Cambria. Yay. Holy crap, we got triad experience to spend. Oh, and a CI report on Jackie Ma. Let's look at that first, before I forget what it's called. But yeah, the melee training is grapples versus strikes. The police training is guns versus vehicles. And then the triad training, if I can press the right buttons to access it. How dare they hide it from me. Triads are about offense and defense. Right now I'm thinking a good offense is the best defense, so I'm going to be sticking with the top track. It's going to move a little slower since it doesn't have bonus missions and stuff, but I'll just worry about that next time. Today's movie is brought to us by Sam Kassan. It's a modern classic that comes to us from outside the usual Hong Kong distribution. Remember, international means it came from outside China, Hong Kong, or Taiwan. In this case, the movie's name is Ong-bak, and it came out in 2005. The story about the story. Let me start you with some regional history. Hundreds of years ago, Thailand, known in the West as Siam thanks to Portuguese mistranslations, was the dominant power in Southeast Asia. But, like with China, that began to change in the 19th century when European powers started flexing their muscles in the region. The English and the French in particular would basically support the claims of subject peoples like the Cambodians or the Vietnamese, and after they successfully declared independence, the Europeans would sweep in and turn the new nations into colonies. Because of this, by the time World War I came around, Thailand had shrunk from occupying most of Southeast Asia to its present-day borders. But here's the thing, Thailand itself never became a colony. Like Japan, and unlike China, Thailand modernized. And they even declared war on Germany in World War I to earn themselves some concessions during the peace negotiations at Versailles. By World War II, civil wars had turned Thailand into a fascist state run by the army. But this turned out to be a good thing for them, since it allowed them to talk the Japanese into a military alliance rather than an outright occupation. And yet, at the same time, the royal-sponsored anti-Japanese resistance allied with the United States, and thus helped Thailand avoid harsh penalties after the Japanese surrendered. Since then, the country's internal politics haven't exactly been clear skies, but compared to its neighbors, Thailand has done remarkably well for itself. As far as Thailand's cinematic history goes, that started a little late compared to other places, but the nation had a big import market pretty much as soon as movies became a thing. When talkies came around in 1928, Thai cinema reached what's widely called a golden age. But, like in Germany, the golden age ended as the fascist government took over the industry and turned films into fluff and propaganda. On the other hand, Thai filmmakers didn't all flee to America before the war, and they didn't have Hollywood's censorship code to limit the subjects of their films. Now that's not to say that censorship didn't exist, but it did mean that they could create proper action movies immediately after the war and not 20 years later. This led to a second golden age that only ended in the 70s when the industry fell into Hong Kong's problem of making too many cheap, trashy movies year after year. The industry fell even lower in the 80s thanks to Hollywood action movies and the introduction of television to Thailand, but oddly enough, the Asian financial crisis of the late 90s inspired Thai filmmakers to try some new and different things, leading to what's currently called the new wave of Thai cinema. Today's movie was born out of this new wave, and also from the growing career of its lead actor, Tony Jaa. Now that's obviously not his given name, but, like a lot of Hong Kong natives, Jaa took on a Western name that would be easier to remember for Western audiences. As a kid, Jaa grew up watching Hong Kong action movies full of the likes of Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and Jet Li, and as soon as he was old enough, he started training in Muay Thai. Muay Thai is basically the martial art of Thailand, but I'll get more into that later. For well over a decade, Ja worked as a stuntman both in his native Thailand and in Hollywood productions. Ong-bak wasn't his first time as an actor, but it was his first time in a leading role, and it was a real hit. This became particularly true after the French director Luc Besson gave the film an international release. Tony Jaa and his mentor, Pachicano, had to scrape together the equivalent of $1.1 million to make the film, but they raked in $20 million from the international box office. Now, the international version is edited, replacing the Thai rock soundtrack with hip-hop and cutting a couple subplots, but the dialogue is subtitled instead of dubbed, and, on the whole, the movie is basically untouched. So how about I describe what happens in the story? Ong-bak starts with a bunch of young men caved in mud swarming up a giant tree in a rural Thailand village. Their goal is a yellow silk sash tied to the top branch, and the kids all push and shove each other as they try to reach the top. Finally, a villager named Ting gets the sash and successfully evades all the competition to reach the ground and declare victory. The sash is for the village's patron Buddha statue, ong-bak, who will wear it for a festival that comes only once every 24 years. But not all is well in town. A man named Don shows up, and he asks a village elder to sell his holy amulet for 200,000 baht, which is worth roughly around $6,000. But the old man won't sell, and he never planned on selling. Night falls, and Ting practices some Muay Thai forms. A Buddhist monk taught Ting the art, but he also made him swear to never use it. Another villager, who I'm pretty sure is Pachicano, explains that this is because the monk used to be a Thai boxer, but he gave it up after he killed his opponent in a rope match. Later on, the old man visits the shrine, but Don knocks him out, steals Ong-bak's head, and grabs the poor box while he's at it. The village elders are in despair, so Ting declares that he'll get the head back. He sets off to Don's address in Bangkok with some money for food and a letter to Humlai, a boy who had left the village years ago. We cut over to Bangkok, where a guy with cropped blonde hair wins a motorcycle race against a woman who doesn't appreciate his misogynistic tone. The guy tries to collect his winnings, but the gangster handing it out keeps most of it to hold against the guy's debts, and then beats him up when he notices that the guy still has enough money to buy drugs. However, it turns out later that the guy, George, was running a scam with the girl, Moilette, and they would have split the winnings if the gangster Peng hadn't beaten George up instead. Ting shows up on the scene because, turns out, George's real name is Humlai. George is not happy to be embarrassed about his backwoods origin in front of Moy, and is about to turn Ting away, but then he hears the village's money clink, and he changes his mind. He treats Ting to some hospitality, but he's actually doing it so he can steal Ting's money and use it for gambling. Ting catches on, however, and so he is not far behind. George heads to an underground fight club and puts all the money on one of the fighters. At the same club, Don has brought the head of Ong-bak to the club's boss, Kamtuan, but Kamtuan doesn't want it. Ting shows up just in time for George to lose his bet. But when he stomps over to the bookie, Ting crosses the fighting ring and everyone thinks that he's challenging the winner. When the winner goes for him, Ting just gives him a knee to the face and knocks him out cold. Everyone, even the soundtrack, is stunned into silence. The announcer hands him his winnings, but all Ting wants is his money back so he can leave. George wants him to stay and fight some more so they can both get rich, but Ting doesn't box for money, and he only wants to find Don and the statue head. When George offers to help, but only if he can gamble first, Ting leaves in disgust. George and Moy scam a gambling den together next, but when George is splitting the take, Peng shows up looking for the rest of his money. Realizing that both racers from the night before are in cahoots, Peng starts beating George up again, but Ting happens to wander past and he hears the commotion. He thinks George is getting what's coming to him, but when they start messing with Moy, Ting steps in and beats the gangsters. George once again agrees to help find the statue head, but once again, it's only after Ting fights and wins him some money. Ting is once again disgusted, but before they can get much further this time, Peng shows back up with his whole gang behind him. What follows is an extensive on-foot chase scene that demonstrates Tony Jaa's crazy parkour and gymnastic skills as the gangsters try to chase Ting. And, oh man, the obstacles keep getting crazier and crazier, and I'm pretty sure there are no wires being used here, aside from that one barbed wire obstacle. In the end, Ting and George get away by scaling a wall too high for anyone else to climb up, and George finally promises to bring Ting to Don with no strings attached. Since Don works for Kam Tuan, they return to the Fight Club. Don spots Ting in the crowd and recognizes him from last time, and so Kam Tuan forces him to face the night's new champion, a big Australian guy who goes by Big Bear. When Big Bear taunts Ting, he doesn't react. And when he assaults a waitress and beats up her boyfriend, Ting still doesn't react. But once George tells Ting to fight or he won't help find Ong-bak, the fighting commences. Big Bear lasts longer than the other guy, but he doesn't stand up to 2 elbows to the noggin. Kam Tuan keeps betting on his champions while his betting partner bets on Ting. So he basically forces Ting at gunpoint to keep fighting so he can win his money back. Ting fights a guy using what I believe is capoeira, but the last challenger is a guy called Mad Ox. The name is appropriate. Mad Ox is a street fighter, and he breaks everything in the room that's breakable over Ting's head. They don't even stay in the main room. Mad Ox and Ting crash through several other rooms until eventually they're in the VIP box. And at that moment, Ting spots Don right before he knees Mad Ox through the window. The crowd cheers and throws money at Ting, but Don and the boss aren't happy. That night, we see George start to rethink his life, and that morning, Don acts like a piece of human garbage. But then, Ting and George show up, Don runs out, and hey, here comes a tuk-tuk chase. Tuk-tuks are those little 3-wheeled cars, really more like covered motorcycles, and they're used as taxis in Bangkok and are both more and less dangerous than real motorcycles, especially at high speeds. And why, yes, I am going into detail about tuk-tuks as an excuse to show more footage. This is a long chase scene. The chase ends with Ting and Don falling into the harbor, and while he's down there, Ting discovers a bunch of Buddhist artifacts hidden underwater. Ong-bak's head isn't among them, but Ting does report what he discovered to the police. This upsets Kam Tuan even further, since that was his smuggling operation. And so when Don tells him who's responsible, Kam Tuan kidnaps George and Mui. But instead of torturing them, he gives them a message. Kam Tuan is a betting man, and so he wants to wager Ong-bak's head on a rope match. Rope fights, incidentally, are fights where the combatants cover their fists with rope, complete with knots tied to the knuckles, both to protect their own bones and to inflict more damage. Ting's opponent is a Burmese boxer who dopes himself before the match and doesn't show any signs of feeling pain during the fight, and he beats the crap out of Ting. But as we learn after the match, this is actually because Ting was instructed to take a dive so that Kam Tuan could win a bet. Ting and George are taken to an abandoned gas station, supposedly to get Ong-bak's head, but unsurprisingly, the boss is still too angry at them to hand it over. He tells his men to shoot them, and he leaves. But Ting manages to get the best of his captors, and he escapes. At one point, Ting even kicks a guy with flaming legs. Don is one of the ones who stayed behind, so Ting gets the location of a smuggling cave out of him, and both Ting and George go off to get the head back and end things for good. Ting defeats the guards at the cave entrance. Once he's inside, he gets into a big weapons battle with staffs, machetes, and a couple of really thick tonfas. Ting discovers that the cave isn't just there for smuggling, but also for stealing a massive Buddha statue. And it just so happens that Kam Tuan, the Burmese boxer, and Ong-bak's head are all there. And so we get another fight scene, not 2 minutes after the last one. It involves a 2-person saw, George almost gets hanged, and when George tries to interfere with the fight, he gets his arm broken. In the end, Ting wins. We get a rematch between him and the Burmese boxer. The boxer takes plenty of blows, but it's clear that now that Ting is trying, the Burmese man has no chance. So the boxer takes a moment to dope himself again, and he takes Ting by surprise. So Ting nails him with a stupid number of elbow blows to the head until the guy finally goes down. Then Kam Tuan shoots Ting in the shoulder because, oh yeah, bullets are still a thing. Kam Tuan is about to destroy Ong-bak with a hammer, but then George jumps in the way and takes the hammer blows instead. And at just that moment, the big statue's head falls off and it crushes the boss, because of karma. Ong-bak survives, but George, Humlai, dies from his injuries. And just in time for Moy to show up too. A scarred ong-bak gets his head back in time for the village ceremony, but the celebration is bittersweet, since one of their own died to return it. But that is how the movie ends. The style. Muay Thai is also known as Thai boxing. It's basically as big of a combat sport in Thailand as Western boxing, and now MMA, is in the United States. However, unlike Western boxing, Muay Thai also has strong links to Thai tradition and religion. Like most martial arts styles, Muay Thai started out as a way to teach soldiers how to hurt someone without a weapon. It wasn't very formal at first, but over the centuries, practice sparring became something of a spectator sport, and then traditions started showing up, like the tradition of wrapping the hands with hemp rope for the same reason that Western boxers use boxing tape and padded gloves, to protect their wrist joints and bones. For that matter, modern Muay Thai boxers use boxing gloves, because the hemp ropes are dangerous, especially when you add those knots. The Thai royal family has been fond of Muay Thai for generations. One in particular, Sanfet VIII, who ruled in the early 18th century, was known as the Tiger King. He earned this name partly because he would enter boxing matches in disguise so that he could have a fair fight, and also because of the horrible, murderous things he did to women, young girls, and his own courtiers. History is ugly sometimes. Nevertheless, the sponsorship of Thai Kings helped the sport go from informal fistfights to a formal sport complete with a national organization that decides the regulations and organizes matches. Muay Thai gained a religious aspect thanks to another couple of factors. For one thing, Thai Kings have a certain amount of control over their nationalized form of Theravada Buddhism, so their promotion of boxing has a certain religious aspect. But more importantly, more directly, Muay Thai matches were often performed during religious holidays at temples, and these matches naturally had to show proper respect to the gods and the Buddhas. Some of this respect bled back into the sport. But as far as the style itself goes, it's very strike-heavy, and one of its other names is the Art of 8 Limbs. That's because while boxing uses 2 points of contact, and kickboxing adds the feet for 2 more, Muay Thai encourages strikes from the elbows and the knees for a total of 8 points of contact. Now, encouraging this has advantages and disadvantages. Striking from 8 points makes you more unpredictable since you have a lot more options, especially for follow-ups, and both elbows and knees can be surprisingly pointy, delivering more force to a smaller area. However, you have to get close to your opponent to deliver these blows, cutting your range in half, and it opens you up to more joint damage, especially with the knees. Incidentally, the range issue is why Muay Thai has weaker rules than Western boxing does when it comes to grappling and clinches. Western boxers have to separate as soon as they grab each other, so they sometimes use it as a way to catch their breath. But a clinch in Muay Thai only means it's time for the knees to come out and play. These days, Muay Thai is still a major sport in Thailand, but it's not really a long-term career option. Thai boxers don't get paid much per match, so they have to be in a match every month. And for something as brutal as boxing, That's a lot of matches. Between the pay, the number of matches, and the fact that most Thai boxers start training young, most of them hang up their gloves by their mid-20s and move on to other jobs. Thanks for joining me again for today's film review. I hope I'll see you next time for my first Hong Kong martial arts fantasy movie. I can't wait.